PGA Championship starts tonight. Just getting into the golfing spirit. It's the only sport you're going to play where you're going to have more disappointing rounds than good ones. So if you can get comfortable with that, if you can be that detached from the outcome and still play round after all these years, you're going to fare well as a trader. Alright, so just on my way home, did a bit of shopping. Now, I know that runs directly counter to what I said in the last episode about me cooking, but been going through my monthly spending budget and I've just been tearing through it with all these takeouts, so got to tighten up my belt a little bit. Anyway, for this episode, gonna do something slightly different. Gonna film this over 4 days as I attempt to trade the PGA Championship in the golf, and in between I'm going to trade the boxing on the Saturday between Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury. So some big action coming up and hopefully we can have a big weekend. Now I've got no clue what I'm doing in the kitchen, but thanks to YouTube, the algorithm has pretty much figured out that I'm having to fend for myself. So I'm not going to show you how this turns out, but if I'm still trading tomorrow, then you know I didn't get food poisoning. I just freshened up, so time to get to work. Now, golf isn't it's not one of my primary source of income. Not because I can't trade it, I love the sport, but the scope to scale it to the level that you can on racing and cricket, it's just not there. So here's a few of my results already over the last couple months, and this is just from trading Sundays. Now, I know it's not life-changing amounts, of course, but if I can do this most Sundays while eating dinner in front of the telly, you know, this is going to bring in an extra 5k maybe a year. Not a life-changing amount of money, but nor does it need to be, because you know the level I'm operating at, every little helps. So I'm happy to do this most Sundays, and for the majors I make an exception. I trade for the whole weekend or the whole 4 days, as I am doing in this instance. Now, golf trading it's really hard to bet on outright. I'd argue it's, you know, one of the hardest sports to make picks on. And that's why you get such big prices even on the best players in the field. Now my first reaction to the prices is that Scotty Scheffler is just way too short. I know he just won the Masters and he's in unbelievable form right now, but you know, he's had 2 weeks off and he's just had a kid. So you know, those sort of distractions and then trying to win back-to-back majors is such a rare feat. I think he's just got too much going on, and I just think there's no value in that. In fact, this price is even shorter than what he was to win the Masters, and I just don't buy that at all. I think there's no value in that whatsoever. As for Rory, he had a great week. He had a great win last weekend. He edged out Oleksandr Scheffler, who's also playing really well. You know, like I said, it's just so difficult to make an outright pick. Just gonna have to see how the tournament plays out, and then just build out from there.
So they're playing at Valhalla this week. Now, for the PGA Championship and US Open, they look to beef up these public courses by making them longer and growing out the rough. But this course looks quite gettable. Rory won here in 2014 and shot 16 under, and he only won it by a stroke. They've also played the Ryder Cup here in 08, and that was just birdies galore. So we can reasonably expect some low scoring. And going by the state of the leaderboard, just in the opening couple of hours, there's a lot of players under par already. Alright, so this is how the day concluded. Not a good start, I know. And the result probably doesn't tell the full story, because I was ticking over nicely until I laid Xander Schauffele. he made a few early birdies and then he just went nuts. So I had to escape for a loss. He was around 20 at the start of the day, and he's now down to 4.0, and he shot 9 under, which is the joint lowest score in major history. So that's just testament to how well he played today.
Okay guys, so it's day 2, and something crazy has just happened. Something really bizarre. Scotty Scheffler, the world number one, was just arrested on the way to the golf club. Apparently he trespassed some barricaded part of the road where apparently someone was killed, someone was run over, and the police arrested him. Apparently they slammed him on the car, took him to jail, and he's been booked. So they're speculating he may not even make his tee time, and Twitter's just going nuts over it. So I done a quick later back on him as soon as I heard the news, and made a nice little profit and reduced my overall loss. So honestly, it's all up in the air right now. I'm not sure if they're gonna delay the tee times for him, or whether or not he's gonna make it out in time. So we'll wait for the tournament to start, and then we'll try and get our position back into green.
Alright, so after that little episode earlier, looks like Scotty got out and he's going to be returning to his tee time as normal. So, I mean, we'll see how he gets on. It's going to be difficult to get back in the zone. But my focus for now is Xander Schauffele. You know, he's a great world-level player. He's due a major, but I don't want to lean too much into that because we've seen many great golfers not win one. Xander's a very streaky player. He can play a great round or a great 9 holes, then just coast for a bit. And he did that last week when he was tied for the lead, coming into the final round, and then just went flat and shot level par. So, like I said, the course is gettable. I don't expect a runaway leader. This may well tighten up at some stage, and you know, Xander is in form. If he shoots another 6 or 7 under round before the final round, he can potentially touch evens at one point, and that'll be good for me because that's where I'll be looking to take off my liability. Okay, so fast forward to end of the day, and Collin Morikawa, another player who's finding form. You know, he fired a 6 under round. He's closed the gap to 1 now. He's only 1 off the lead, and Xander, as I somewhat predicted, made a steady 3 under. He didn't hold many putts. Not as spectacular as yesterday, but he's still in the lead. And I've managed to reduce my loss. I managed to slash it to less than half of what it was. So Xander's price has barely moved. It's drifted, in fact, slightly, because Scotty also fired back with, 5 under, I think. So to do that, you know, coming straight out of prison is just testament to how good this guy's concentration is. Okay, so straight into day 3 now. Day 3 is moving day. And now from round 3, tee times are based on leaderboard positions, so we can start trading a bit later into the evening as the leaders go out last. The only issue with that is that it's going to clash with the boxing. So we're going to have to come back to this. We're going to have to revisit this later because the boxing is what I'm going to focus on tonight.
It's the big fight coming up. I'm getting nervous. I don't know about you guys, but you know, I've already given my fight preview. By the time this video comes out, it's going to be too late, of course, but I've put it up on YouTube. But in summary, I'm picking Usyk to beat Fury in this fight. I'm rocking with Usyk. The stats tip in his favor, in my opinion, and you know, just based off what I've seen. I don't agree with the odds. I have Usyk as a very slight favorite. You can make a good case for either fighter. You know, the consensus is a good big fighter beats a good little fighter, but that's a lazy comment in my opinion. It's not as simple as that. You know, Usyk he's not a good fighter. He's exceptional. And he's nullified bigger opponents on countless occasions. So look, granted, neither him or Fury have faced an opponent as formidable as each other. And that's what makes this spectacle so interesting and hard to predict. So let's find out what happens.
Alright, so I've gone fairly big on Usyk from the start. Skill aside, the early rounds are key to imposing your will, and Usyk is very good at getting his shots off. So if that's the case, he will shorten up aggressively, and this could flip pretty quickly. Alright, we're only in the second round, and as predicted, Usyk will be favourite at some point. And this price correction admittedly has come rather quick because not a whole lot is happening. It looks fairly even. And it's difficult to score this round. And like I said, I'm looking to see if Usyk can impose his will, but I gotta admit, Fury does look an awful lot bigger. You know, when they're wearing suits and track suits, all you can pay attention is the difference in height. You know, it's only around 4 inches, but when you add the extra 40-50 pounds in weight that Fury carries, you know, when you see them in the ring, he looks a lot bigger. So Usyk's really gonna have his work cut out if he wants to get his punches off an established range. He's gonna have a hard time getting close to Fury. All right, so 8 rounds in, and this trade has gone a bit hairy. Fury's really mixing it up. You know, with those beautiful uppercuts to the head and the body. They look like they hurt Usyk, and his odds have just gone flying out. So I was forced to close it for a loss. I didn't think it was over, as the odds seem to suggest. You know, Fury touched 1.2, so you know, I laid him for a hefty chunk. I laid the pants off it, to be fair, because you know, I figured the price is gonna correct. You know, heavyweights they're big targets. You know, it's hard to get out the way of each other's punches, even for someone as slick as Usyk. And I remember when he got hit with the big right hand from Murat Gassiev in the Super 6 final. And I remember Joshua rocking him late in the second fight. And you always get an overreaction in price. But one thing about Usyk is he's never been dropped by bigger punches than Fury. And I've never even seen his legs buckle. So to be honest, you know, that lay at 1.2, you know, as the price started to balance out, was good value at the time, because the price corrected pretty quickly. And then in the last round, Usyk caught him plumb on the nose with the left hook, and Fury keeps touching it now. It's bleeding, so he could have trouble breathing. You know, both fighters are evens now in the odds, so the momentum has swung back in Usyk's favor. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these final rounds go.
What a big round for Usyk. He battered Fury around the ring in that round. What a turnaround. And then the ref jumped in and gave Fury a standing count. Now, technically, if the ropes keep you up, it's a knockdown, but he gave him like 20 seconds to recover. And then the bell went. Unbelievable. You know, that stinks to me. You can't help but feel if that was the other way around, that'd have been stopped. And they really robbed Usyk of a potential knockout there. Fury was out. He was gone. He was out. But look, no bother. Our work is pretty much done here. All my liability is off now of Fury. Leaving it on Usyk, and I'm hedging up on the draw as well. You know, I wouldn't trust these judges with the barge pole. But, you know, the momentum has swung firmly in Usyk's favour. He's just got to see off these last few rounds. He's still got to win them. In my opinion, I've got him up, but he still needs to win those last few rounds, because a couple of the early rounds were hard to score. Let's see what happens. All right, there you have it, folks. That's my final book. Usyk wins by a split decision. Surprise, surprise. One judge gave it to Tyson Fury. You know, it was close, but I had Fury. I had Usyk winning, you know, 7 rounds to 5, including a 10-8 round. A draw you could maybe make a case for if you really fought tooth and nail, but Usyk was the better man tonight. Yeah, I'm happy with that trade. Good trade, that. Now let's get back to the golf, and let's see how Xander's getting on.
All right, so we're poised for a tense finish tomorrow. It's neck and neck between Xander and Colin Morikawa. But to be honest, there's a good 6 or so players in it. Now I'm faced with a dilemma as to whether I start reducing my liability on Xander and waiting to see who makes a move, or just holding out. Now, if I'm being objective as possible, I haven't really seen any cracks in Xander. You know, he's still got the lead after 3 rounds. Yeah, he bottled it last week, but Morikawa bottled it in the Masters last month, and I do feel like Sahith Theegala makes too many unforced errors, and who knows what Lowry, Hovland or DeChambeau could do. Literally any one of them could come from behind and win it. You know, Lowry shot a crazy score today. The sensible thing would be to get out of this trade, but you know, maybe I'm being a bit biased towards Xander. I've probably got a bit attached to my position because I've been holding it for so long. But honestly, if he's not dialed in tomorrow, I'll just cut it and we'll look to profit elsewhere. You know, we've made around 700 quid today, so you know, we've got that little cushion. There's no pressure going into tomorrow, but hopefully we can go out with a bang. Okay, final round. Someone's gonna have to go low today. I'm guessing 19 or 20 under at least is gonna do it. Now Xander's price has come in a little bit. He's now the favorite over Morikawa. Not sure why that move happened overnight, since they're tied for the lead, but I'm not complaining. I'm gonna welcome it. Xander, in my mind, needs to be at least 2 or 3 under at the turn. Now, obviously, that depends on how others are scoring, but if he doesn't go low today, I don't see him winning. Someone is going to come from behind, so I'll be forced to cut it. All right, so far, so good. And Xander got off to the perfect start. He held a solid 30-footer on the first hole, and that kind of set the tone for the day so far. He's gone below 3.0 again for probably the 3rd or 4th time. Yesterday was really frustrating because he had a 2-stroke lead, and I was planning on removing most, if not all, my liability at evens, but then he went and made a double bogey. It was an unforced error. He pulled it into some deep greenside rough, and Colin birdied it, so there was a 3-shot swing. So I'm not going to make that same mistake again, especially it being the final round, where if he makes mistakes like that on the back 9, there's probably no coming back. But he's got a nice 2-shot cushion now. A lot can still happen, but we're finally starting to see a decent return for our patience, and I've advised my Telegram members to start removing their liability. I'm still letting a little bit ride. Morikawa's just, he's run completely cold with the putter. He hasn't made a single birdie, and it's a little bit reminiscent of his final round in the Masters as well. So the market was spot on this time. Sahith, again, making too many unforced errors, as I predicted. And Shane Lowry's ticked over rather steadily, but hasn't really made a move. But Hovland and DeChambeau, they are the 2 danger men that I'm worried about. Either of those guys are capable of going really low today, and they're both making a charge already on the front 9. So let's see what happens. Okay, so we're finally at the finish line. Well, almost. Xander's got a 6-footer to win his first major. Now, I've advised my Telegram group to hedge up, but I'm going to let it ride. If he misses the putt, it's a playoff. He'll go back to evens. I'll lose a couple hundred in profit, and it's just not a risk I want my group to take. I'd rather than hedge up and take the money, because it does fall on my shoulders if he misses this putt. And I don't want to risk them losing 30-40% of their profit. I'm not saying it's written in the stars, but he should hold this. He should. It's 6 foot, not much break on it. And like I said, he's just played solid all week. So if momentum's anything to go by, he should have this wrapped up, and they shouldn't be going to a playoff. It's a win either way. I'm just trying to mop up every last bit of gravy. And he holds it. Brilliant win. Held the lead for all 4 days. That took some bottle. That took some real bottle. From me as well, by the way. Always felt like this trade was hanging by a thread there, but he just played solid golf the whole week, and he really came through when it mattered, and that's another £650 on top of what's been a rather cracking weekend.
Alright, so that's a wrap from me, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. 4 days of trading, golf, boxing, a bit of cricket. I know I didn't get a chance to show it, but that's about £1,500 profit just on the weekend. I made some bold calls. We backed Xander at 4.0. We backed Usyk as the underdog to beat Fury at 2.5. And that's about as good as it gets. And that was tough. This was tough filming over 4 days, especially for the golf when we had very little to show, nothing to show in fact for the first 3 days. So it was all hinging on today. And thankfully we were on the right side of things. So, this is kind of how a weekend looks for me when everything goes right. So I'm thankful for that. I think I've earned my right to a day off tomorrow. So I'll just edit this, put this video together, and I'll get it out as soon as possible. So make sure you're subbed, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, like, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys soon.